An evening message on July the 5th, 2022. Let's not be obsessed just within oneself, brighten out from oneself. To be stuck within oneself is gonna be blocked. Brighten out from itself, from oneself. No is not know itself completely. This will purify naturally, for the delusion to sink or to maintain is all about the samudaya, the causes of suffering. What is it that is maintained? The suffering that maintains the suffering itself. No is not know itself. Let's not be obsessed to use the suffering to maintain the suffering on and on. No is not know itself. Let's not be stuck with oneself, deludedly being oneself on and on. Let's not be obsessed to fixate within oneself on and on. No is not know itself completely. This is only about suffering, fixated to suffering. The object of suffering is the suffering itself. Let's not be obsessed to be stuck within oneself on and on. Brighten out without limits. No is not know itself. Disregard is not about anything within itself. Well with it. No is not know itself. The states of mind or any conditions are not themselves. The mind is not itself. No is not know itself. Let there be the brightness that is boundless. Let's not be stuck with just oneself on and on. It's blocked. Being obsessed to be within the mind, within feelings, within suffering. This is suffering and suffering. Only significance and meanings and involvement. This is the involvement with suffering. No is not know itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. No grasping for the no itself. No grasping for the disregard itself. To be obsessed with significance and meanings and involvement, this is like involvement with suffering, because everything has the nature of suffering. Any attributes, any conditions has the suffering in itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. No is not the no itself, child. There is no need to go around. There is no need to go indirectly. Let's not be prolonging or delayed. This is not about practicing anything. The disregard is not itself. It's not about practicing disregarding. No is not know itself. It's not about practicing to be attempting to disregard something. Directly cut through itself. This is not about cutting off something. Cut through the cutting itself. No is not no itself, child. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Well with it. It's not about practicing. This is not about attempting to reject anything. No, it's not no itself. This is not about practicing to disregard something, to not attach to something. Disregard from the disregard itself, not attached to the non-attachment itself. This will purify everything. All the karma attached to the body, mind, to any characters will purify through the emptiness all by itself. Let's not compromise with anything. Deliberate cut through as a conclusion only. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself right away, child. That is called let go of the let go itself. It's not about let go of something. That is still a practice. It's still the samutai in itself. Let's deliberate cut through directly. Disregard from the disregard itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. The reminder that has self-cutting in itself. Let there be more frequently. Because the delusion is at all times, even while sleeping. Until naturally uninvolved is within the uninvolved itself at all times. Until no is not no itself at all times. With this, it will be even. Because there's still delusion in all actions, in all manners, even waking up or sleeping. Being obsessed with significance and meanings and involvement, this is always deluded. So let's use the conclusion of the essence of cutting the knowing at all times. Instead, nothing is within the disregard itself at all times without choosing time. Let's not be deludedly cutting something. Cut through the cutting itself instead. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Well with it. Let's not be obsessed to cut off the mind or the heart. Instead, cut through the cutting itself. Cut this and that. It is the samutai, the desire that deceives oneself on and on. Cut through the cutting itself. Disregard from the disregard itself instead. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself instead. No is not even no itself. No is not the no itself. Disregard from the disregard itself, child. With this, you will not be deceived by the desire. With the act of trying to let go of anything or not let go of anything, put down anything or not putting down anything, cutting off something or not cutting off something. Disregard even from the disregard itself right away. No is not no itself. Disregard from the disregard itself. The reminder of self-cutting, this is the great compassion. So let there be more often with the great compassion, help with the conclusion through ending within itself. This is not grasping for ending for the sake of ending, cutting for the sake of cutting. In that way, it's impossible to end because there is the fixation to grasping. It has to be helping through ending as helping instead. Ending as helping through ending altogether. Let there be no grasping that overlays through the path. This is imagination, integration, fabrication within the path, within the result, within the path of Nibbana. All the delusion of the obligation for attainment assumed up with delusion. This is the Tithi that is fabricated. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, let there be the Tithi that purifies itself. The Tithi that ends within itself. So that it will purify the samudaya within the delusion to attempt to dwell within all things, all elements, overlaying within assumed Dhamma. Every Buddha era, there is the enlightenment to the truth that the anicca is not attempting to dwell within itself. The anatta is not attempting to dwell within itself. The attempt to dwell and to fixate, where is it coming from? It is the assumed delusion. The delusive attachment also is assumed up, being deluded to the assumed, on and on. Assuming to dwell, to fixate, without purification in itself. This is the assumed that is deluded and attempting to dwell within itself. Until it's not about anything within disregarding or not at all times. This has nothing to do with being still or not, indifferent or not. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself. As its nature of uninvolved within itself. The essence of the cutting, the knowing, has to be concluded for samsara on and on. Let's not be taking side of one's own tithi, one's own karmic difficulties of tithi, the recalls and the thoughts that don't purify themselves, creating karma and karmic retributions, creating realms of existence. The knowing that doesn't purify itself, creating the whirlpool within itself, within the fabrication of knowing. The seeing that has no extinction in itself is become the whirlpool of tithi, opinions and meanings and feelings are the Vedana and hindrances. disregard even from the disregard itself. Let's not be stuck with just knowing that is on the surface. The life that is superficial, with just knowing and seeing, being stuck only that. The surface of form and formlessness of the body and the mind, the superficiality that is rotten in itself, is anicca in itself. Uninvolved within the uninvolved itself continuously. No is not know itself. No is not even know itself. What is there that is left? This is not about an attempt to dwell or to fixate. However, there is the power that is special. If you want to have intention to remain, you can. Disregard even from the disregard itself continuously. Let's conclude through the essence of cutting the knowing or the enlightenment. This is the great compassion. It will affect the samsara at large because it cuts off the whirlpool altogether. This is simultaneous benefits for all, internally and externally. There is cutting within oneself and helping through cuttings externally altogether. Helping through ending and ending within oneself is simultaneous. The term is simultaneous benefits for all, oneself and all others. Let's not be stuck with just knowing and seeing thoughts, recalls, emotions and feelings. This is on the surface. It's superficial. Whether it's tangible or intangible, it's still on the surface. To be obsessed, to dwell within anicca, dukkha and anatta is always stuck with the superficiality. Disregard even from the disregard itself, child. The disregard is not about anything within itself. Until nothing is within the disregard itself naturally. That is true disregarding. That is true non-attachment. True non-attachment is not about anything within itself. It's not about something that trying to not attach even to the non-attachment itself. That is true non-attachment, true disregarding. If there is the attempt to disregard, it's not true disregarding, because disregard is not disregarding from itself. There is just deludedly disregarding. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, it doesn't grasp itself. It's not about anything within the disregard itself. This is true disregarding. Until nothing is within disregarding or not naturally, then it will be true disregarding. Let's not go around. Directly cut off the cutting itself. To be obsessed with the practice until one is going around totally. The essence of the enlightenment or cutting the knowing is already given, but one doesn't cut. Deludedly practicing, how can there be natural cutting? Once one starts, it's not about cutting already. Be direct. Disregard from the disregard itself. Be direct. Cut off the cutting itself. No is not no itself. Let's not be deludedly rejecting anything. No is not no itself. Let's not be obsessed to use no to reject anything, because it's a delusion. No is not no itself. Don't be obsessed to think of assessing it to this and that. Yes or no, this is a delusion. No is not the no itself. Continue to use the conclusion through the essence of cutting the deluded knowing. In other ways, there is no cutting. Disregard from itself, child. Disregard even from the disregard itself. This is the essence of the cutting knowing that is given. While practicing anything, the more practicing, the more there is the arising mind. There is no cutting at all. Impossible to cut. Disregard from itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself is not about a practice. It's not about a practice. Be direct to the essence of cutting within itself. Cut through the cutting itself. Without disregarding, there is no cutting. Disregard even from the disregard itself is, in fact, through is the true cutting because it's cut through the cutting itself. When there is deludedly cutting this and that, it's not true cutting. They're still deludedly cutting to this and that. Without disregarding, there is no cutting. There is no ceasing. The samutthai is not ceasing. The more practice is the more samutthai within the practice itself. The ending has been given in every Buddha era, but one doesn't end one's own samutthai, deludedly beginning something within the mind, beginning to grasp from seeing and knowing, from mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. This is no ending in itself, all by oneself, deludedly, not ending all by oneself. That which is not about grasping. The grasping itself is anatta. The object of grasping is also anatta. The grasping is also anicca. The object of grasping is also anicca. This is all about deludedly grasping for the anicca and anatta and using the anicca and anatta to do it. Being deluded, to be smart, to be stupid. Disregard within it from itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Ceasing the ceasing itself, cut through the cutting itself, ending the attempt to end itself. This is not about trying to end. That is the attempt to arise. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Let's end the attempt to end itself. Let's cut the cutting itself. Disregard, even from the disregard itself. Let go of the attempt to let go itself. Even a tiny bit of a path or the result is still a samutthai. It is the samutthai that overlay whether it's the noble path or the worldling's path. Why not directly end? Why being obsessed to deceive oneself, to mislead oneself, to create a path for oneself to walk on? Assume the path for a false self to walk on. That which has nothing to do with being smart or being stupid. Why is it so? Because it's uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Disregard from itself. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Ending has been given to every Buddha era, no matter how many Buddhas there in any Buddha eras. But one doesn't end by oneself. There is tithi, opinions and meanings that integrate in this way and that way all by oneself. Being fuzzy, having too many trivial things going on. It turned into samutthai overlaying Dhamma and the world. At all times, the samudaya overlays form and formlessness, body and mind.
เองเลยสิไม่ใช่ข้างหน้าข้างหลัง
This is not about before or after, in front or behind, because it's not even about the present. Disregard even from the disregard itself right away, child. This is not about something in front or on the other side or on this side. Neither is about that side or this side. Neither is about in the middle. Why being obsessed to be in the middle? This is a delusion, huh? Disregard even from the disregard itself. What is there to be taken to be on any side or in the middle? What is there to be taken to the side of Nibbana or the side of samsara? Don't use Tithi regarding samsara on other side from Nibbana. This is Tithi that is created it. Being deluded to Tithi, to have opinions and meanings all by oneself. Why not cutting? Why not disregarding? Disregard even from the disregard itself, so that it will not be about any side. No, it's not even no itself. And all the one who is attached or detached, being deluded with being male or female, being someone who is deludedly attached or detached. This is just about delusion and delusion. Being obsessed with being attached or detached, how can it be? It's anatta as it is. What is there to be detached further from the anatta? Even the upathan itself is anatta in itself, but the stubbornly persistence, it becomes a long-term exhaustion. Disregard within from itself. Disregard from itself. So that one will not be deludedly holding on and fixated to anything as a refuge. All that taking refuge deludedly is turning into taking the delusion and delusive attachment and samudaya as a refuge. Therefore, it's the suffering. No Buddhas leading anyone to deludedly fixating on something, one making it all by oneself. All Dharma is anatta in itself. All delusion is anatta in itself. This is just deludedly interpret all by oneself. Even no fixation is not fixated to itself, then it will be true non-fixation. Let's end all misleading self-significance. Disregard even from the disregard itself. That which is not about having nothing to do with body or mind or anything. Why is it so? It's because uninvolved is even uninvolved with itself. Therefore, it's not involved with the body or the mind or all things. Uninvolved even within uninvolved itself. Therefore, it's truly uninvolved with everything.
มัวแต่ไปหลงเจริญเอาแล้วมันจะตั
To
ด
be
สู้อย่างไร
obsessed
เล่า
to
หลอกก็ไม่
practice
ได้
for attainment, how can one go
มัน
through
มีผู้บรรลุที่ไหนเล่าหลอกมันอยู่
cutting
ได้
deluded knowing?
ตัวที่ไม่ใช่ตัว
This
ต
is
นที่ไม่ใช่ตน
deceiving. Oneself is not oneself.
อนัตตาที่มันไม่มีความหมายด้วยความเป็นอนัตตา
The anatta that is not mean signified, that doesn't signify as
มัน
anatta
แค่
in
บัญ
itself.
ญัติสมมุติเท่านั้นเอง
It's just a terminology that is assumed.
หลอกมันอยู่ได้ใครบรรลุแล้วใคร
Why
ไม่บรรลุแล้ว
deceiving? Who is it that
ใค
is
รนั้นเอาอะไร
enlightened or
มาทำ
not?
เป็นใคร
What is there
ที่
that
ว่า
is
ตน
made
เอง
up
น่ะเอาอะไร
as
มาทำเป็นตนเอง
oneself? Huh?
ความรู้สึกนึกคิดจิตอารมณ์
Feeling
อนิจจัง
thoughts
อนัตตาอยู่
because
ตลอดเวลา
emotions and feelings are anicca at
รู้
all
ว่าอนัต
times.
ตานี่รู้เอง
Knowing
เห็
is
นว่าอนัตตา
anatta
นี่
in
เห็นอยู่ตลอด
itself.
เวลา
Seeing
เอา
is
ตัวไหน
anatta in
ล่ะมา
itself
ทำเป็น
at
ตัว
all
เอง
times. What is there to be made up as
เอา
oneself?
ตัวไหนล่ะมาหลงสำคัญว่าเป็นตัวเอง
What is there that is made up as
ความรู้
oneself?
สึกชั่วครู่
Significantly.
อารมณ์ชั่วคราว
It is temporary feelings.
เอาอะไรมาเป็นตัวเอง
Emotions is just temporary. What is there that is made as oneself?
อะไรก็ตัดสรู้ว่าให้หมดแล้วโลก
The enlightenment
อนัตตา
is already
อนัตตา
given.
ธรรมอนัตตาขันธ์
Body mind is
อนัต
anatta.
ตาที่มันไม่มีความหมายด้วยความเป็นอะไร
Elements are anatta in
อนัต
themselves.
ตาที่มัน
The
ไม่ใช่การ
anatta
คอย
that
ติดคอยหลุด
doesn't
เป็นอนัตตา
signify as anatta, that is not about
อนัตตา
attempting
ที่
to
มันไม่ใช่ผู้ติด
attach
ผู้ห
or
ลุดเป็นอนัต
detach
ตาเอง
in itself.
ทิฏฐิติดลมสิ
This is being carried away
หล
by
งตี
Titi,
ความไปหลงให้ความหมาย
deludedly
ไป
giving
มัน
opinions,
เปิด
meanings, and
สำคัญผิด
interpretation until
คิด
it's
ว่าตัวเอง
gone
จะ
too
ต้องติด
far,
ต้องหลุดอะไร
thinking that one
หล
has
ง
to
สำคัญว่าตัวเอง
be
ติด
attached
หล
or
งสำคัญว่า
detached
ตัวเองหลุด
to something,
มัวแต่หลงสำคัญ
being
ผิด
deludedly having
เรียกว่าโมหะ
misleading.
มิจฉาทิฏฐิ
This is all about Titi, whether it's right view or wrong view.
อย่าได้หลงเสือกไปไม่ใช่อะไร ไม่
Let's
ใช่
not
ก็ไม่ใช่เอง
be
สิ
deludedly thinking
อย่า
that
ได้หลงเสือกไป
it's
ไม่
not
เกี่ยวกับ
about
อะไรเลย
anything
ไม่
or
เกี่ยวก็ไม่เกี่ยว
unrolled
เอ
with
ง
something, unrolled within the unrolled itself instead.
ไม่ใช่ก็ไม่ใช่เองสิอย่าไป
No
หลง
is
เสื
not
อก
no
ไม่ใช่อะไร
itself. Let's not be obsessed to reject something.
ไม่ใช่เพราะแต่ไปหลงไม่ใช่ตรงนี้ไม่ใช่ตรงนั้นไม่
Let's
ใช่
not
นั่น
be
ไม่ใช่นี่ไม่
obsessed
ใช่
to
โน่น
deludedly
มัวแต่หลงอยู่
reject
นั่น
to
แหละ
this and that.
ไม่ใช่ก็ไม่ใช่เองสิ
This is just
ไม่
delusion.
ใช่แล้วไม่ใช่
No
เอง
is not no itself. No purifies itself.
ไม่ใช่จบตัวไม่ใช่เองสิ
Let's end the no itself. Huh?
มันจะได้ไม่มัวแต่หลงเป็นมรรคเป็นผลอยู่
So
โลก
that
นิพ
it
พาน
will
ส
not
รุปนิโรธ
become
ส
a
รุปตรง
delusion within the path or the result. Let's conclude through Nibbana directly.
เพราะว่ามันมัวแต่ไปหลงใช่ไม่ใช่นั่นแหละ
To deludedly yes and
โม
no
หะทิฏฐิตัณหาทิฏฐิยุ่
until
งเหยิ
it's
งไปหมด
complication with all the titi and desire.
จ้องอย่าไปตัด
aiming towards
จ้อง
cutting,
ตัดเอง
but the aim
ต้อง
to
ตัด
cut
ในตัวเอง
doesn't
จ้อง
cut
อย่าไป
itself.
ตัดชาวบ้านจ้องอย่าไปตัดตัวเอง
Aiming to
จ้อง
cut
อย่าไป
off
ตัดสารวัตร
others or
ตัวต้อง
samsara.
ตัวที่มันจ้อง
This
ตัดนั่นนะเป็นสาร
aiming
วัตรในตัว
is
ตัดตัวเอง
itself
นะไม่ได้เฉลียวเลย
samsara within itself. This is unrealized.
ตัดตัวตัดเองสิ
Cut through the
ไม่ตัว
cutting
ไม่
itself,
เอง
disregard from the disregard itself instead.
ไม่เกี่ยวตัวไม่เกี่ยวเอง
Unevolve
สิ
within the
ตัว
unevolved
ตัด
itself
ตัวตัดเอง
instead. This is cutting within the cutting itself.
ไม่แม้กระทั่งตัวไม่เองสิ
Disregard
ตัด
even
ตัว
from
ตั
the
ดเอง
disregard
ไม่ใช่
itself.
มัว
Cut
แต่
through the
จ้อง
cutting
จะตัด
itself.
อะไร
Let's not aim to cut something on and on.
แม้แต่คอยตัดจิตตัดใจ
Even
ก็
trying to
ยาว
cut
อยู่
off the
เลย
mind is still lengthy.
ยังสมุทัยอยู่เลยนะ
Still becoming samutai in itself.
ไม่ว่าจะมรรคของโสดา
Whether
มรรค
it is the
สกทา
path
คา
of
มรรค
the
อนาคาหรือว่ามรรคอรหันต์ที่ยังเป็นสมุ
Four
ทัยทั้ง
entries
นั้น
to the enlightenment is still
ไม่
a
จบตรงๆ
samutai.
แล้ว
Why not end directly?
ไม่เกี่ยวก็ไม่เกี่ยวเอง
Unevolve within the unevolved itself instead.
ไม่ตัวไม่เองเลย
Disregard from the disregard itself instead.
ไม่ใช่ตัวไม่ใช่เอง
No is not no itself.
นั่นแหละจบเลยลูกไม่ต้องไป
This
คิด
is
ละอะไรละตัวละเองเลย
spontaneous ending. There is no need to think of letting go of anything. Let go of the let go itself. จะไปละอะไรกายฮะไปละ What
อะ
is
ไร
there
จิต
to be let go of
จิตก็หน้าตา
with
ไป
the
ละ
body
อะไร
and the mind? The mind is anatta.
เกิดๆ
Why
ดับๆ
let go of it?
ให้หายเลยนะไปทำอะไรมาแล้ว
Why doing anything to it?
อนัตตาจิตอนิจจังจิตนะ
Anicca and anatta of the
ทุกขัง
mind,
จิตน่ะ
dukkhang of the mind.
จะไปทำอะไรมัน
What are you going to do with it, huh?
รู้ไหมว่าตัวที่เข้าไป
To
ทำ
know
เนี่ย
that the act on
เขาเรียกว่าเสือก
is intervention.
สมุทัยเสือก
It's the samutai that is intervening.
มันเลยทำให้เกิดกรรมเกิดเวรมากมาย
That's why it creates so much of karma and karmic retributions. To practice the body and the mind, it becomes
มันเกิดจากอะไรแล้ว
cycle
ในตัวปฏิบัติ
becoming
ทั้งหมดทั้งมวล
from the Brahma realm to the hell realm is derived from the practices of body mind.
สิ่งที่ตัดสรู้ให้ตรงๆอยู่แล้วว่า
The
พาพ้นกัน
enlightenment
ไปเอง
is directly given,
เอา
but
ทิฏฐิไป
you
ค้น
are
เองทิฏ
leading
ฐิไม่จบตัวทิฏฐิ
by
ทิฏฐิ
your
ไม่
own
ล้างทิฏ
tithi.
ฐิเอง
That's why it's distorted. It doesn't
มัวแต่
purify
หลงทิฏฐิ
itself,
ปรุงแต่งมัวแต่
being
หลงทิฏฐิ
deludedly
บูรณาการ
using tithi to create something and
สิ่งที่
fabricate
ให้ยุติ
something on
มัน
and
ดันไปเจ
on.
ริญ
It's supposed to be ceasing, not
สิ่งที่ให้
practicing.
ยุติมันดันไปปฏิบัติ สิ่งที่ให้หยุดมันดันไปเจริญดันไปปฏิบัติ
That is
แต่มัน
supposed
ดั
to
นไป
be
ภาคเพียรเน้น
ceasing
ไปภาวนา
is instead being practiced.
ให้ใช้กับการโปรดเท่านั้น
Perseverance is to be used only with
จ
blessing
บช่วย
only,
สังวัตกันไปเรื่อยๆ
giving ending
อรหันต์
to help
เพียรอะไร
samsara onwards.
ความเพียรของอรหันต์คืออะไร
What
เพียร
is
โปร
the
ด
perseverance of the arahants?
เพียรในการจบ
Is
ช่วย
the
สังวัตไปเรื่อยๆ
perseverance for the
เรียก
blessing
ว่าความเพียร
to
ใน
help
ฐานะอุปโล
samsara.
ก
This is the
มหากรุ
assumed
ณาในฐานะอุป
perseverance,
โลก
the
กรุณา
great
ในฐานะอุป
compassion
โลก
and the compassion that is assumed.
ไม่ใช่กรุณาเอากรุณาไม่ใช่
This
เพีย
is
รเอา
not
เพียร
the compassion for the
อุปโลก
sake ในการจบ
of
ให้ oneself
อุปโลกในการจบช่วย
or perseverance for the sake
ไม่ใช่
of
แบบเอา
attainment. It is to help end instead. This is not about someone who is not fixated, no fixation even to the non-fixation itself.
เอาใครไปไม่ยึด
Don't dare
อะไร
to be someone who's
ต้
not
องอ่านเอาอะไร
fixated
ไปไม่
to
ยึดอะไร
something.
อะไรไปไม่ยึดอะไร
What is
อะไร
there that is used to not fixated to something?
หืม
What is it?
โมหะตัณหาบูร
It's
ณา
the
การ
delusion and the
อะไร
desire
ไปไม่
that
ยึด
is
อะไร
creating it. What is there that is not fixated?
ไม่ยึดตัวไม่ยึดเองไม่ยึดแม้กระทั่งไม่ยึด
Not
เอง
fixated even to the non-fixation itself.
เอาอะไรไปจบเล่า
What is there to be used for ending is
โม
deceiving.
หะหลอกตัณหาหล
The
อก
delusion and
ทิฏฐิ
desire
หลอก
that deceive
เอาอะไรไปจบ
oneself
ล่ะ
is the tithi that deceive oneself. What is it that is to be
สิ่งที่
used
มันไม่เกี่ย
for
วกับจบ
ending?
ไม่จบ
It's not something about ending or not ending.
สิ่งที่มันไม่เกี่ยวไม่กระทั่งไม่เกี่ยวเอง
Involved even within the uninvolved itself.
ถ้าจะไปหลงจบก็จบตัวไปค่อยจบนั่นแหละอย่าได้
To deludedly
ทรมานที่ไปจบอะไร
ending
อย่า
is
ไปหล
to
งพยายาม
end the
ที่ไปจบ
delusion
อะไร
to
ทร
end
มาน
because it's gonna be a torture.
แต่คิดว่าจะไปจบอะไรก็จบไปตัวค่อยจบเองนั่นแหละ
If you think of trying to
ไม่ก็
end
ไม่
something,
เอง
just
สิ
end the attempt to end itself. Disregard from the disregard itself instead.